Welcome to another promising week. It's The Pulse. We are coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlimle on your digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 144. Remember, we are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. This afternoon, we'll find out how a self-styled physiotherapist managed to lure vulnerable women into his makeshift theater and engaged in sexual acts on the pretext of helping them out of their problems.
I get sexually unstable.
He starts by massaging and inserts his entire hand in my vagina.
I believe that is something probably he does to innocent women or wives, people who come seeking medical attention.
He has since been arrested. We have the full documentary for you on The Pulse this afternoon. Also, gauge your mood on this matter because you get a chance to call into the show. Also this afternoon, more distraction at Glefe in Accra as strong waves continue to batter a community. 5 homes destroyed in 2 days.
Here to the beach road, me nim say Hano and Ghana Hodia, and they should come and talk something about Usha a fee choco di besiha. Akwaya ti se zongo. A nipa e guhano in billions aye to aba. Enti yenye nipa.
Plus, 3 persons missing in the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, after hours of heavy rain left some communities flooded. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities, Dignilu Affordable Safe Sanitation. Remember, we're also streaming live on YouTube and all our social media handles. Tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at the Nana Aisha. Always a pleasure to host you.
Hi, this is Lexus Bill, host of Drive Time on Joy 99.7 FM. Listen, you don't have to worry if you miss Drive Time or Personality Profile. It's going to be live on our podcast page. Just log on to www.myjoyonline.com/podcast. You can listen to Drive Time, Personality Profile, and any other of your favorite shows on Joy FM on that page. You don't have to miss a show at all. Joy 99.7 FM, radio for discerning listeners.
Many thanks for choosing us. This afternoon, more houses along the coastline at Glefe within the Blekuma West municipality are being washed away by strong waves from the sea. Last week, about 7 houses collapsed as a result of devastating sea erosion in the area, exposing the only health facility in the area as the next in line. The Ministry of Works and Housing had hinted it was dispatching a team to assess the situation, but in just the past 24 hours, 3 more houses have collapsed, leaving more residents displaced. My colleague Manok Ranting, who reported this earlier, went back to Glefe and has more in this report.
Glefe is a coastal community which lies about 100 meters north of the Atlantic Ocean. There are no government schools here, no government hospitals, or even government-controlled public toilets. Unemployment is quite high in this area too. While they grapple with these challenges, there's another one which is threatening their very lives and livelihoods. Tidal waves. Violent, destructive, and ferocious tidal waves. Every week, at least 5 houses here are washed into the sea by the tidal waves. This is as a result of rising sea levels occasioned by climate change. Not even the Sea Defense Project here has prevented buildings from being washed away by the sea.
For years, ni buildings here. It has been here for long.
But he is not alone. Kwesi, his neighbor, has been up since 3 a.m. planting beams to support the fast eroding foundation of his building.
As you can see, the way the waves is, it's very, very, very scary. But what will you do? I have a 2-year kid, very, very young, who is with me, and it's not safe for her.
The kids here are literally petrified. They look on helplessly as the only places they have known to be home continue to be broken away, building after building.
I to commit. It's a comatu affair, but Chaminim baby Ameda. And I'm more than one Ameda, and you may said I knew. And I'm never my minimum papa and I appear. Yeah, but she not dining in the elbow. But now I want to my dead chain. I said I may go school.
The contractor has had calls to alter the design of the remaining 400 meters to allow for a landing site for the fishermen in the area. The spot for the intended landing site dovetails into the piece of land which houses the only medical facility in the area, the Royal Memorial Hospital. The hospital stands just some 10 meters away from the last standing structure at the shore. The nurses here practically work in fear. Dorcas Mensah is one of the nurses at the surgical theater of the facility.
Some time ago, we were having a case done at a theater whilst we cut a patient's abdomen open, and then all of a sudden we had a shake in the ground, and everything, the towels and then the bed the patient was on, everything went sunk down, which was very scary.
This 2-kilometer sea defense project is being executed by Sidalco Construction Limited, partly to reclaim some of the lost land and also protect the buildings along the coastline from the devastation of the ocean. Work started here in November 2015 and was to be completed by 2018. But that was not to be, as several challenges including logistical constraints and issues of payment certificates delayed the completion of the project up until now. Charles Owusu is the assemblyman for the Glefe-Gbegbese electoral area.
And they told us that the sea level is higher than the community. So if we can stay safe here, unless they construct a sea defense for us. Since the construction of the sea defense, you see, they started from Glefe Enclaves. And now here is Akwetema, but they have stopped here. So we called on our MP, which is in the person of Honorable Esla Usu. And she came here last time with, I think, the housing minister or so. And they came and looked at it, and then they said, okay, government have awarded the contract to that same contractor. But the contractor said they need clearance before they can continue the job. So that is how far we have gotten to.
The only facility in the area, the Royal Hospital, stands tall now, but for just a couple more weeks, if nothing is done to ensure that the violent waves are blocked from having access into the homes. Reporting for JoyNews, Manuel Cranting.
My colleague Manuel Quarantine joins me in the studio for more on this one. Manuel, you've been there at Glefe once again. I mean, you went there today. What's the latest? What did you find when you revisited that area?
Yeah, so Aisha, last week about 7 houses got washed away. In just the past 24 hours, about 3 more houses have been washed away into the ocean. In fact, at the point that I got there, a lot of the residents, the affected ones, were just hanging around, loitering in the area. Essentially for them, they've had to pass the night in the open at the mercy of the weather. These are generally, you know, women and children who essentially do not have anywhere to stay. There was a very elderly lady who spoke to me, quoted her age as around 80 years, and says that she's had to put up in a store because the room which originally was her bedroom has been torn down by the waves, and so she's now in a provision shop where she actually sells, and that's where she's had to be. And so generally it's just more devastation by the minute, more devastation by the day. And so and you remember, Aisha, that yesterday the Ministry of Works and Housing had intimated that they were going to revisit the site. And this is on the back of an earlier visit sometime 2 months ago when the Sector Minister, the Honorable Asenso Boache, together with the Member of Parliament for the area, Blakema West, Madam Esla Owusu, they visited the area and assessed it for themselves. And now with this new development that's been captured by our cameras, the Ministry of Works and Housing's Public Relations Officer, one Elvis Ejeba, intimated that they were going to go back on Thursday with officers from the Hydrological Services Department to assess the extent of damage and recommend actions, which essentially would be the solution. But today, as I visited the ground, you'd realize that the urgency of the situation will not allow for waiting another day or 2 more days.
The residents, and I heard those vulnerable kids there speak about how they had to sleep outside. How are they coping with the situation?
Well, one particular gentleman that I spoke with, who's married with a daughter, says that his daughter and the wife had to put up with their friends in the area while he spent the night outside. And he says that he had to go plant wooden beams and then use some crossbars to protect the remainder of their building because their hall is gone.
Okay.
So what's left is their bedroom, and that's where a chunk of their properties are. And so he's trying to, provide an artificial defense that will, protect their house from entirely caving into the ocean. And so that's what's happening. On the brighter side, though, based on our report and the images that we brought from there, the contractor Sedalco Limited has returned to the site, and today our cameras have been able to capture. They are putting back some what they technically call polders. Okay. So these are huge rocks, not exactly as a sea defense, but what you're seeing on your screen now. These are huge rocks that are temporary barriers to the waves. Okay. And so it was, sort of break down the impact of the waves
in the interim.
In the interim.
Okay.
And he tells me that Gideon Kwaku tells me that he's a project manager at the site. He tells me that this is essentially because of the only hospital in the area, Royal Memorial Hospital. This is to mitigate the impact of the tide against the community there, so that the hospital will not tear down. As you heard the nurse say in that earlier clip, that they were in a theater when the floor just caved in. So this is a temporary measure to save the hospital. An extension also saved the...
you talked about the minister visiting the area. Are there any short-term measures he put in place to for these residents as we look at the bigger picture?
In terms of short-termism, we don't have any specific, if you like, commitment from the ministry.
No relief items, nothing to support those victims?
What we know officially from the residents who have spoken to us, and I'm just reporting what they've told me, is that they've not gotten anything from them. In fact, Elvis Ejeba, who speaks for the Ministry of Works and Housing, says that they are working the lines together with the Ministry of Finance to get clearance to allow the contractor, some resources to fully resume work on the sea defense. So in terms of the efforts from the Ministry of Works and Housing, that's the extent of to which we know they are engaging the issue. In fact, I visited the Municipal Assembly, the Blakema West Municipal Assembly, to get some responses there. And they say that this has been brought to the attention of the Assembly and then its NADMO directorate within the Municipal Assembly. And so they are considering, and they may just get some relief item. However, it may just be on the table that a permanent evacuation may be the solution
to all of this. This is something that we are monitoring, and definitely will bring a closure to this, because we'll keep on visiting the area until we see some results. But 3 persons also are missing in the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, after hours of heavy rain that left some communities flooded. Those missing are part of a group who jumped off a Kia truck they were traveling in as the floods pulled the truck away. Love FM's Nanaya Ojima is following up on this for us. He joins me with more. Nanaya Ojima, what more can you report on this one? Unmute. Kindly unmute for me, Nana Ojima.
I'm unmuted.
Sure, go ahead.
So the update is that the 3 are still missing. They are yet to be found, but the NADMO has also confirmed 3 other people dead, and they include 9-year-olds. There are 2, and one of them was found at Durban in the Ashanti region, and it's actually a girl who the NADMO says went playing with friends during the rainfall, and unfortunately she died. And the friends were able to come back to their home to report what has happened. And also another 9-year-old died at Kromwase. His body has also been retrieved by the NADMO. And finally, at Sokoban, the NADMO has also retrieved another body. And this man is believed to be a resident of the area. So NADMO is confirming 3 deaths in different parts of the Ashanti region, or Kumase to be precise. But the 3, which we earlier reported at Kromwase, at Ahenema Kokoben rather, are still missing. They are yet to be found. Now, a search party are now working within the area to ensure that these people are found by the NADMO and also residents in the area.
All right, Nana Ojima is with Love FM. He brought us that update, and we're still monitoring this one also. We'll bring you updates as and when we get it. Now, he set up a physiotherapy center and promised his clients the best of results from their treatment. But patients became victims of sexual abuse at the hands of their helper, Dr. Jonathan Ohene Nkunim, who ran his treatment center at Bawe in Accra. He told desperate women with various health conditions that they needed to be sexually aroused before they could be treated. Manasseh Azoria, winner of the 4th Estate, captured the heartbreaking physiotherapy sections Dr. Jonathan Ohene Nkunim had with his patients, some of whom are still traumatized by his acts. Airing for the first time here on The Pulse is a full documentary titled The Licensed Sex Predator.
When I do it continuously, I get sexually unstable.
He starts by massaging and inserts his entire hand in my vagina. And sometimes I felt his hand in my womb.
I think I'm not the first victim, according to the rumor I heard. I believe that is something probably he does to innocent women or wives, people who come seeking medical attention.
And it's random. It's not like every woman I see.
Came inside and then he hugged me. Then things got more intense. He was touching me, kissing my back, fondling my butt, and trying to find his way inside my vagina.
I noticed that he was actually massaging my buttocks and inserting his fingers into my vagina.
I am not aware of any, condition, and in this case, you said lumbar spondylosis. I am not aware of any such condition that would require the patient to be sexually aroused before treatment can be administered. No, it is a surprise.
In 2018, Ifwa, a 30-year-old banker, not her real identity, was introduced to a specialist when she and her husband needed a child. The couple had suffered a traumatic loss and hoped this specialist would help restore their joy.
We have here Dr. Jonathan Ohene Nkunim of the Nature's Hand Therapeutic Center at Bawe. Doc, welcome to the show.
Initially, I was kind of reluctant since I didn't really know how he used to operate. I decided to give it a try. I was there at the clinic, and actually, he doesn't do the normal diagnosis that you'll be asked to do a lab and those things. He actually has a way. He checks, I don't know whether your pulse or something behind your palm, which looks strange, but that's how he's able to tell if you have a condition or not. He said he learned it in China.
There's the back of the hand, and it has like 360 points.
Okay.
There, so if I want to check there, so I want to check how you sleep, so I check the pulse and the nerve points. And
okay, so what are you checking now?
I'm checking your sleep ratio, actually.
My sleep ratio?
Yes.
Okay, and?
4 hours, 35 minutes, give or take 10 minutes.
Yesterday?
Yes, last night to this morning.
This guy's a prophet. No, I didn't sleep early. I stayed up late because I was working on a script. So.
And today your eating has been a bit off. You've taken a lot of water, which is good, but your eating is...
Yes, I've taken a lot of water today. Yes. And I've just eaten once, something very little.
Okay. Okay. But all in all, you have a very good pulse. Your heart is very, very good.
My heart is good.
Very, very circulation.
Is a liar.
I won't say 100%, but some were kind of accurate, so. And he mentioned that I had a problem with my cervix and that kind of thing. So I needed to do a procedure which would help me to conceive once therapy had been done. I asked what the therapy was about, and he said he had to insert like a probe into my reproductive vagina, let me put it that way. Sort of manipulate certain things there before I would be able to conceive.
Efwa was not comfortable with the procedure, but it is said that a woman in labor does not hide her private parts from the birth attendant. She was in dire need of a child and had to give in to the requirements of the treatment despite her misgivings about the specialist and the discomfort involved in the procedure.
According to him, before the procedure has to be done, you need to, if you're with your partner has to get you aroused so that your cervix can open. It also sounded strange to me, but I was like, okay, I also want a baby, and if this is what the doctor is saying, of course I need to give it a try.
The facility was not conducive for Efwa to be aroused by her husband, but as I later found out, that prescription was a bait, a trap which Jonathan Ohenin-Kunim employed in order to violate women who visited his facility. Once the woman could not be aroused, he would then take over that responsibility.
He inserted something like a probe, I don't know what it was, into me, and he kept doing his own thing there. So at a point, he would ask my partner that he probably should go and buy ice block or something. And I realized that it's more like, though he didn't penetrate, it was more like he was trying to have sex with me, trying to play with me. He was trying to play with me down there, getting me aroused, and I wasn't feeling comfortable.
After the first session, Efwa told her husband that she wasn't comfortable with the procedure, but she could not bring herself to tell him the full details. There was something else about the specialist Efwa did not tell her husband.
He started sending messages that he liked me and all that. I was wondering, why would you do that if I'm your client? Afterwards, he started making advances towards me that he liked me and all that. And of course, as women, we also tend to be vulnerable. And of course, I also, because he's a doctor, I felt this is someone who liked me, but I wasn't really interested. Later, I gave it a try, that I would be seeing him once in a while and that kind of thing. And through that, he had his way with me, and yeah, that was it.
After the affair, Efwa said she felt guilty and confessed to her husband. He initially forgave her, but she realized he was still battling with it. Her fears that her marriage would get into trouble were confirmed when a court bailiff served her a divorce notice. Her affair with Jonathan Ohenin-Kunim was the reason her marriage collapsed.
It really affected me, but I was just, a woman who wanted to have a baby. I don't know whether he's a real doctor or a fake doctor.
Jonathan Ohenin-Kunim is the CEO of Nature's Hand Therapeutic Center at Gbawe in Accra. He describes himself on social media as a doctor by profession and a gospel minister by calling. There are videos of him singing in church, his ministry, drawing worshippers to the altar to kneel and lift up their hands in total submission and supplication to God. Social media photos of Jonathan paint a picture of a loving husband and a doting father. Jonathan's professional profile is well promoted on his personal social media pages as well as the official page of Nature's Hand Therapeutic Center. A Facebook photo of him with a stethoscope around his neck is captioned, "Ordained to Heal." On his Instagram page, that same photo is captioned, "I may be a doctor, but the worshipper in me is who I really am." Beneath the self-professed credentials that appear to cement his public profile, there is a part of Jonathan Ohenin that is not advertised. Women like Ifwa who have encountered him say he is a sex predator.
He claimed he liked me and it just happened. But apparently, I've heard cases. I mean, it's a rumor I heard. I think I'm not the first victim, according to the rumor I heard. I believe that is something probably he does to innocent women or wives, people who come seeking medical attention. I think it's something he does to take advantage of vulnerable women in the name of the medical profession.
While investigating this story, I met Ifwa sent Jonathan Ohenin a message about what happened 2 years ago.
I'm still wondering what made you sleep with me, though you knew I was married.
I wish I knew. I was so attracted to you and didn't know why. I've never been the same since. I just don't know why. Even when I realized things have gone so far, I just couldn't stop myself. I naturally run away from such desire, but with you, all I tried failed. It was my toughest battle yet, and I failed miserably.
So how do you feel, knowing that I am divorced because of you?
So guilty and broken. Have not been myself and always praying for forgiveness. The inability to tell anyone is the most difficult. I've come so close to telling on him out so many times, but I know the end result will be devastating. I'm suffering in my conscience.
In the conversation, Jonathan Ohenin showed remorse, but Ifwa was not the last woman he took advantage of or tried to take advantage of. In March this year, I sent an undercover agent to Nature's Hand Therapeutic Center. Let's call her Stephanie. It began with a phone call.
Please, am I speaking to Nature's Hand Therapeutic Center?
Yes, you are.
Okay, my name is Stephanie Naughty.
Okay.
My back has been hurting for some time now. In my lower back, a lot of times it will start from my neck down, then I start feeling the pain.
Do you feel it when you walk?
Yes, and when I stand.
Can you try touching your toes right now?
Like I should bend?
Bend and see where exactly you feel the pain.
Yes, my lower back. You see where your spine is? Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. It looks like you're suffering from lumbar spondylosis.
Wow.
At the facility, Jonathan made Stephanie sign a consent form, but it did not include what she would be subjected to. As in the case of Ifwa, he told Stephanie that her treatment would involve sexual arousal. This was despite the fact that the two women had different conditions: the inability to conceive and lumbar spondylosis.
The very first day, he said if we don't take the treatment serious, the back pain serious, it was going to move down my lady parts, basically. And I started thinking, how so? Then he brought some pictures, like some old documentations on something like that, meaning that if it goes down, then they'll have to use force, or they would have to use an instrument to go down there, basically. Or he would have to use his hand. To avoid that, we'll have to go through the procedure, meaning you have to be sexually aroused for a fluid in your back to move down your lady part, basically.
When Jonathan couldn't get his way with Stephanie, he suggested they had the next treatment in a hotel in La Paz, a suburb of Accra. He said a conducive atmosphere perhaps would enable Stephanie to be sexually aroused so that he could treat her well. This, he said, would come at no additional cost to her. Since we had no control over the environment and did not know what could happen, we declined that offer. But he had a second one. He made an appointment for Stephanie on the Saturday between Good Friday and Easter Sunday, when there wouldn't be any other patient around or workers at the facility.
He came inside and then he hugged me. Then things got more intense. He was touching me, kissing my back, fondling my butt, and trying to find his way inside my vagina, touching my thigh. Basically because I needed to, I was rigid at first. He was telling me to relax because there was nobody here and I should tune my mind to the fact that if my boyfriend was doing all of this, he was going to work. So he's only doing his work as a medical doctor, and to just get the fluid down and then you can push the wherever the bone that is not properly there or something basically.
After that treatment, Jonathan proposed a love relationship to Stephanie. He needed a response by the close of that day. In a WhatsApp conversation, however, we told him that Stephanie would need more time to know about him and decide whether or not to accept the proposal. He agreed. We used this period to get as much information as possible about Jonathan and his practice. He even got suspicious and said we sounded like detectives. On the day Stephanie was supposed to visit the facility and respond to his love proposal, I chatted Jonathan using Stephanie's phone before going to meet him. He completely denied ever sexually assaulting any woman at his facility. When I mentioned Ifwa's affair and the divorce, he said no such thing had ever happened between him and his clients until I provided specific details. When I mentioned Stephanie, Jonathan said he liked her, but denied ever sexually assaulting her. He said his affair with Ifwa and her subsequent divorce had hit him so hard that he learned his lessons. He denied ever sexually assaulting any woman at his facility and challenged whoever had evidence to prove it.
Things go on, so I'm really, really surprised.
You're saying it's not true?
If it were to be true, I should be in jail by now.
If it were to be true that you sexually assault your patient, you should have been in jail by now. Is that what you're saying?
If I have done this, you're a journalist. If somebody comes, you did this to me, and I explain, and things are not in the right way, the person will have taken me on. I will not say that things like that have not come up.
Ifwa had evidence of her engagement with Jonathan Ohenikunim on her phone. The 4th Estate's undercover agent, Stephanie, also had text messages, phone calls, and audiovisual evidence of her encounter with Jonathan. But there was another woman who had evidence of raw sex at the facility. She's a 28-year-old businesswoman called Essie, not her real identity. She told me a day would come when Jonathan Ohenikunim would deny ever having sex with her, so she recorded one of her sessions at the facility.
He starts by massaging and inserts his entire hand in my vagina. And sometimes I felt his hand in my womb. Then he'd start having sex with me because he said I was too tensed and needed to relax my muscles before the treatment.
By the time Essie was introduced to Jonathan Ohenikunim in 2020, she was contemplating suicide. She had gone to hospitals but could not find a remedy for her sustained backache. She feared she might be paralyzed, but it was the unbearable pain that convinced her that ending her life was a better option.
The pain is so severe, you cannot bear it. Coupled with that, I couldn't move. My body was given electric shocks, and it had gotten to the point that I didn't understand why I should bear this pain. So I was considering committing suicide.
2 days after she first thought about ending her life, someone gave her a lifeline. It was Jonathan Ohenikunin's hotline.
She only told me that he is a neuromuscular specialist and that he is good at these things and I should go and try it.
6 days after she first called him, Essie was driven by a male friend to Nature's Hand Therapeutic Center in Bawe.
The day I got there, to be honest with you, I still couldn't walk. So I was held on both sides before I could painfully move a leg. So gradually, I got there. And when I got there, he saw me and assured me that I would get better, so I shouldn't worry, and that he was going to do his best to ensure that I got better.
Jonathan Ohenin has confirmed Essie was in a very bad state when she first visited. He told me she couldn't get out of the car on her own. Her condition had deteriorated so badly that he even contemplated rejecting her. He said this to convince me that it wasn't possible to have sex with a woman in that state, but he did. After tapping the veins at the back of her palm, Essie said Jonathan's diagnosis matched the results of the x-rays and scans she had told him about when Jonathan first inquired about her medical history. He started treating Essie that same day.
He actually came to assess me and started his therapy, mainly massage. He said all he needed to do was to manipulate my bone and my spinal cord to be back in shape so that part of my spinal cord that was pressing on my nerves could be released.
Essie had gone there to treat back pain, and she had not been told that she had any other problem with her reproductive system. That was perhaps what aggravated her shock when the treatment got underway.
I noticed that he was actually massaging my buttocks and inserting his fingers into my vagina. The next I knew, it was his penis, and at that time, I was at a point of desperation. I was in pain. I couldn't shout. I couldn't stop him actually, because I didn't know what he was doing.
Essie said she was too shocked to discuss what had happened at the facility with the so-called specialist after the session. Later that day, however, she sent a WhatsApp message to Jonathan to complain and to ask for an explanation of what happened. His first reaction when Essie made reference to the therapy was to apologize. He then sent Essie an article on pelvic floor physical therapy, to which Essie asked what that had got to do with her. All she knew was back pain and nothing else. He then went on to explain that there were 4 different treatment options. These were new to Essie because they did not come up before Jonathan asked her to take off her clothes and lie on the massage table.
I don't know if I'm ever going to get some closure about this. How do I explain to my partner? I needed you to have given me the opportunity to opt for the requirement for the procedure.
According to Section 98 of Ghana's Criminal and Other Offences Code, rape is defined as the carnal knowledge of a female of not less than 16 years without her consent. When Jonathan had an affair with Ifwa in this building, it was without her consent. In fact, his WhatsApp messages confirmed that he didn't even tell Ifwa about the condition that necessitated that kind of treatment in the first place. When Jonathan Ohenin was having sex with Essie without her consent, his wife was 6 feet away. She worked as an administrator at the facility where she sat, and where her husband was having sex with Essie are about 6 feet apart. The husband and wife were separated by the wooden boards that partitioned the room.
I felt so bad your wife was in the next room.
I do understand. The plan was not to go too personal like that, but to put you in the mood and get it done. I just went overboard. I'm sorry, I lost control.
How she was nice to me without knowing what had gone on.
Yes, I get you. You did nothing wrong. I did.
I am not aware of any, condition, and in this case, you said lumbar spondylosis.
Yes.
I am not aware of any such condition that would require the patient to be sexually aroused before treatment can be administered. No, it is a surprise.
So each time he met me, he'd have sex with me. And it wasn't like sex that involved my input. He always made me lie face down and he'll be having sex with me. He starts by massaging you and inserts his entire hand in my vagina sometimes. I felt his hand in my womb.
At a point, Essie thought she was pregnant because Jonathan had ignored her plea to use a condom if he wouldn't stop having sex with her anytime she visited. Fortunately for her, the pregnancy test came out negative, but she contracted a sexually transmitted infection, and Jonathan Ohinikunim was the suspected transmitter. So why did she keep going there when Jonathan was not stopping?
I was at a point of desperation. I was in suicidal mode because the pain was unbearable. I just made up my mind that if that's what it would take for me to get back to my feet, I'd have to endure it and be with the consequences.
A business card with the name Dr. Jonathan Ohinikunim describes him as a neuromuscular specialist. The services he provides at Nature's Hand Therapeutic Center, as stated on the card, are general diagnosis, neuromuscular therapy, physiotherapy, detoxification and spine straightening. A notice at the entrance of his facility, as well as the official Facebook page of Nature's Hand Therapeutic Center, lists additional services such as Oriental Pulse Diagnosis, Herbal Options, Ghanaian and Chinese, Stroke Rehabilitation Therapy, Sports Massage, etc. In a letter he wrote in April 2021 requesting permission on behalf of Stephanie to enable her undergo the treatment, Dr. Jonathan Ohinikunim signed as the head medical officer. Jonathan told Stephanie, the undercover agent, that he was a medical doctor. He said he completed medical school at the age of 23 and went to China to specialize in neuromuscular practice. He then returned to Ghana to work at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital before setting up his own facility in 2018. He said, "My checks from the Medical and Dental Council showed that the council did not have any such name ever licensed as a medical doctor in Ghana." His age, which varied depending on the age of the woman he wanted to sleep with, did not also match the timelines he gave for his education and career journeys. I asked him whether the duration of the medical school was 4 years in his days, and he said no. That was the first time he admitted that he had studied physiotherapy at the University of Ghana and not medicine, but that admission would later prove to be false.
And then, but do you study physio yourself?
Actually, no.
You didn't do physiotherapy yourself?
Physiotherapy as a course.
A course, no. Okay.
But I started going here with a physiotherapy school here. Okay. And then finances and other stuff. So
Jonathan Ohinikunim said he used his expertise in neuromuscular techniques to diagnose his patients, but treated them with his expertise in physiotherapy. My checks at the Human Resource Department of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital revealed that Jonathan Ohinikunim had not worked in the facility. Dr. Paul Amankona, president of the Ghana Physiotherapy Association, told me that the name did not ring a bell in the physiotherapy space in Ghana. Dr. Amankwana, who also works at the physiotherapy department of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, said no such person was known to have worked in the department in recent times.
But did you work in Kolebu at the physio unit?
No, I didn't.
You didn't? No. One of your clients told me that you said you worked at Kolebu at the physiotherapy unit for 2 years.
If somebody make a false declaration even to acquire registration, so it's not just about somebody not licensed or not, but even the information that you use to practice is false, that can constitute an offense under the law. And also if you willfully and forcefully uses the name and title, so if somebody is not a physiotherapist and that person claims to be a physiotherapist, that's an offense under the Act. And then when you provide unauthorized service in a licensed facility, the facility may be licensed, but the person who is practicing there, if that person is not licensed, that also constitutes an offense. If your practice doesn't conform to our set standards, that can also constitute an offense.
When the trailer for this investigative documentary was released, Jonathan Ohinim Kunim sent me text messages and followed up with phone calls, threatening to kill himself should we proceed to publish the documentary. He said he could not stand the embarrassment and the shame that would come upon him and his family. I alerted the police and he was arrested. He then confessed that he had violated or sexually abused more women than we found out in our investigation.
What have I not done? Why have I not done this thing?
So what is the main problem? Is it spiritual?
I'm not calling spiritual, but you know the technique I told you about the day you came? I can touch your hand there. The neurodiagnostics. I realized that when I do it continuously, I get sexually unstable. So go to a time I stop for some time just so that it can get me there. Sometimes I've been controlled and it's random. It's not like every woman I see.
You remember the last time we spoke? That's what I told you to confess to you. But I didn't know you that much and I didn't know if I could trust you.
And this documentary was put together by Manasseh Azori-Awene. I must say it's disgusting. The police has since arrested the owner of the Nature's Hand Therapeutic Center, Agbawe, Jonathan Ohinim Kunime, a quack neuromuscular specialist and the physiotherapist. We will also be following up on this case, which is in court, and bring you updates. But what are your thoughts about this story? We posted this on Facebook. And here are a lot of comments tripling in. Elvis Selom says, if I was any of the Physiotherapy Association leaders, I bet you I'll seriously sue. Oh, really? Is that what you think? Maybe you should watch the video again, then you won't make this comment. And there are a few replies there. Maybe I want to see the replies. It says, don't sit here and blame the woman. You are young and does not know what it feels like when you are desperate in need of a baby. Even most of you at your younger age see how you behave when you need common 100 cedis from your parents. And those are some responses. Arthur Efia Anna says, I know him. He worked on my husband and was planning to go for a full body massage, but my husband's backache got worse as soon as he started working on him. Issued him a bunch of fake medicines. He's so proud and full of himself. Such a shame. And Black Pharisee says, so what are our professional bodies doing to bring to book fake health professionals all along operating illegally, and nothing is being done about it? And more of that coming. Carl M says some victims wouldn't voice out. Past George Francis says it happening. One male nurse almost installed Windows 7 on a friend's USB port. She had SCI, and this guy told her before she can treat him, she has to open her legs and he will put a tab in her vagina and he will push it with his pit. All right, so things are happening in this country. Akudugu Mohammed Mutala says, specialists, may God save our women from these wicked so-called specialists. And Savior says, I won't even send my woman to go see a male doctor like that. Square. And Gertrude Akotam Mackenzie says, can you imagine how can husbands leave their wives to doctors without monitoring self? Now, Kwejo Yadom comes in to say, what did they need the massage for? That is what women want to see. Your husbands and boyfriends are there, so they will go on dubious ways for dubious massages. Most times they are the cause of their own problems. And I'll take this last one from Hassan. Hassan says, what kind of a country is this? People will just pay money to some individuals, and at the end of the day, they get licensed to open anything without any authority going to check what is actually happening there. And those are some comments for you. So this is a matter which is in court. We're following up on you. We'll bring more on the Joy News channel. But we'll take a break on the pulse. When we return, we'll be talking about the Ejura Committee's report. Now, government has released that report, and it's 55 pages. It put together by a 3-member committee set up to probe the disturbances at Ejura, which led to the death of social activist Kaka. Stay with me. I'm coming right back.
Hello, my name is Evans Mensah, and you can relive all the fun and excitement on Top Story, Newsnight, and of course, Ghana Connect via podcast. All you need to do is to log on to my Joy Online/podcast. Search for your favorite show and relive the moment. Joy 99.7 FM, your radio for discerning listeners.
Joy 99.7.
Welcome back to The Pulse. Remember to join the conversation on all our social media handles. Tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is @Danana Aisha. Now, let's talk about the Ejura Committee's report. Government has finally published a 55-page report put together by the 3-member committee set up to probe the disturbances at Ejura, which led to the death of social media activist Kaka. The committee, among other things, recommends the immediate transfer of the district police commander of Ejura and removal of the municipal chief executive. They also suggest that the families of the 2 deceased and other affected persons be compensated. This afternoon, there are calls for government to deal with persons who took political decisions that led to the Ejura disturbances, rather than blaming military and police officers who were acting on orders. We'll hear from them in a bit, but first, let's look at the findings in that report, plus their recommendations. And immediately, we'll look at one of it. It says what? There was no need for the security personnel who were deployed in Ejura to restore calm on the 28th June to have left Ejura in the early hours of 29 June. The committee finds that this created a security vacuum in the town. We're convinced that having withdrawn the security personnel deployed on the 28th June from Ejura, the district police commander failed in his duty to adequately brief his superiors in the divisional and regional levels to beef up the personnel and logistic in anticipation of any eventualities on that day. It goes on to say the committee also finds that the situation became fluid and got out of hand because the police did not, 1, work on their intelligence sharing, 2, fail to prepare for the situation on the ground, and 3, over-relied on the military personnel and thereby failed to organize adequately in terms of personnel and equipment. And it goes on to say, in relation to the response of the military personnel on the 29th June, we note from the evidence that immediately the personnel touched down, they started firing warning shots contrary to the evidence of the Central Command, which was to the effect that they gave a verbal warning, which was ignored before the warning shots. And we note that although the firing of live ammunition achieved the intended purpose of dispersing the rioters, it left in its trial unnecessary deaths, pain, and suffering on the people of Ejura. This, in the view of the committee, could have been prevented. And these are excerpts of the committee's report, which has been released by government. There's been mixed reactions about this committee report. First, let's listen to Director of Faculty of Academic Affairs and Research at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, Professor Kwesi Enin, who's calling for a complete overhaul of the security intelligence system in the country.
My only sort of discomfort with the report and its recommendations is that although it was an Ejura-specific committee, particularly the recommendations about the dismissal of the MCE, the training of DCEs, and then district security councils and metropolitan security councils ought not to have been limited to Ashanti region, I think. As Honorable Tobu argues, the underpinning tensions, not about the death per se, but the speed with which anger boiled over, the failure of intelligence and their incapacity to analyze, the weakness of security governance decision-making from the police commander to the district or the Metropolitan Chief Executive, all the way to the regional minister, demonstrates this complexity of interlocking failures.
Right.
And we've seen it in other parts of the country where security decision-making is either slow, is based on false or faulty intelligence, is based on weak analysis, offering very poor options for response. Laws were right from when the victim was brutalized, the urge or the expectation of the community and the family,
right,
a duty of care, the lack of sensitivity by the police commander, a failure of the National Intelligence Bureau individual for the area also, the municipal chief executives' disgraceful, dismissive, unacceptable behavior, and that intelligence flaw or the break in the intelligence cycle was that it took the minister a considerable number of days for him to intervene. And that intervention was limited to a military option, which was most unfortunate.
Joining me in the studio for more on the security analyst is Adam Bonner. He also CEO of Security Warehouse. Mr. Bonner, I'm grateful that you're able to make it. There are a lot of recommendations that were also made by the committee. One of the recommendations they made was the fact that the committee is recommending that adequate compensation for the families of the two deceased persons, Abdul Nasser Yusuf and Mutala Suraj, and it says adequate compensation must also be paid to other injured persons, namely Louise Aikpa, 20 years, Awal Michal, and Nasif Nuhu. I mean, there are more, but Mr. Bonner, first, you were one of the people who really pushed for this report to be released. Now it's out. There are a lot of reactions greeting this report, especially the recommendations made by the three-member committee. I mean, what's your own reading of this report?
Well, good afternoon, Aisha, and to the viewers. I must confess, my, observations and call it reservations about the committee sitting, I think they are of public knowledge. And I, spoke extensively on your network, both radio and TV. But subsequently, I think the committee's report, I am satisfied with the work they have done so far in terms of the publication, the recommendations, and call it findings and recommendations. If you ask me to rate them, I would give them 8 out of 10.
Okay.
And the reason is that some of the things that were said publicly that we all knew were lies, in the findings, found its way in the findings.
Okay.
So for instance, the military who were there said something else, and that was, captured in the report in terms of findings, but that was an indictment to say the military who were and the committee lied. And so as far as I'm concerned, some of these things probably did the trick for me. And also you looked at the first, recommendation that spoke about compensation.
Yeah.
For me, that is very important, so that in times like this, those who might have suffered any excess, any brutality, as for those who are dead, they are gone. But families of these people who died, unfortunately, whatever compensation you pay would not bring them back to life. But it will go a long way to assuage their pain. And those who suffered permanent injuries and some injuries that are treatable, one would say, I'm sure a proper evaluation is being done to ensure that they are adequately compensated. And so, yes, I would say I am satisfied with the recommendation. The only thing that probably is missing, which I think I would have wanted to see, was the regional minister, his involvement. Because according to himself, he took a unilateral decision to send in the military.
Yeah.
And, you know, we know the, you know, the ramifications. The regional commander at the time, you know, who is, I think he used to be the 2IC, and I think he's now the regional commander. There was no mention of him in a way. I wanted to see that as well.
Yeah.
You know, but unfortunately, that didn't come in.
Isn't that why your colleagues are asking for government to actually deal for those people who gave the command,
Yes.
rather than dealing with the people who were just obliging to the command that was given to them?
Exactly. But this is the committee's work. You know how these committees are.
Yeah.
Unlike, what do you call it, commission, presidential commission, where they are equated to, you need a white paper, you know, this is a committee. So you take the recommendation as, you know, black and white. You implement them.
Okay.
Like Aswansi. Aswansi, you know, the young men who were killed.
Yeah.
A committee was put together by, a ministerial committee was put together. It exonerated the dead and said they didn't fire any at the police, so they were killed just like that.
Yeah.
Their families were compensated. And so mine is that, but at least, you know, these people were exonerated, that they didn't get involved in anything, they were just killed. And so as far as I'm concerned, yes, those who are calling for government to probably re-look at the involvement of one of their own,
Yeah.
or some of their own, I would say the committee, we believe the committee to have been an independent committee. So if we have any call it reservations, it should be directed at the committee from where I sit. It would be difficult to direct it at government because government decided to set up an independent committee to look into the work.
So definitely the committee should have considered the political heads or leaders who gave these, like the Ashanti Regional Minister.
Exactly.
People were expecting that the committee would ask for his transfer or something critical to be done about his position.
But once they didn't mention it, it becomes now very, I'm not holding brief for government, but I'm looking at it from the security point of view, the, you know, the structural point of view, and in terms of, because these people, the committee is put together, so you can't, those of us who were expecting the committee to mention these people didn't. And it's the reason why probably I would give them still an A+, because the truth is that looking at what happened, we've got to learn lessons. I'm hoping that as we speak, the regional minister in Kumasi, the now Ashanti Regional Police Commander, I'm not sure what government on the quiet will do, but I'm expecting to hear something maybe on the quiet that this is the process they are taking.
But isn't it why from day one people were expressing, you know, they did not have enough hope in this 3-member committee because they said they didn't trust them to do a good job?
Well, I am one of the fierce critics of the committee, but like I told you, from what I've seen, I needed to change my position because from where I sit, I can see the aspect of compensation. I can see some lies, you know, call it lies that were told, and, you know, the committee said you lied.
Okay.
The other aspect I think the committee should not have veered into is carcass death.
Exactly.
Because it is a subject of police investigation and court.
So that wasn't even their business. Was it part of their term of reference?
No, it wasn't. So I would not know why they veered into that. Probably they would have to be the best people to explain why they didn't bring the Ashanti Regional Police Commander, the minister, and then why they decided to include what's the name? Carcass death, you know, they said something about it, yes, which I thought wasn't their core mandate because carcass death was a precursor to the, you know, ensuing what then unfolded.
Okay.
Yeah.
But of course, former secretary to the IGP and member of the Defense Committee, Peter Tobu, wants government to decisively implement the recommendations made by the Justice Commission Committee of Inquiry. Listen.
I also want to thank His Excellency the President with the agency with which he set up that committee, even though many of us argued we would have preferred a presidential commission instead of a ministerial committee. But so be it. He's done it, and then the report has been submitted. I think as Professor Kwesini has said, sometimes it's just a matter of assuaging and letting people verify. Whatever it is, the report has been submitted. The people who sat on this committee, fantastic 3 people, okay? And they did a good job. The report has been submitted. The president wanted it to be done within 10 days. They did it more than the 10 days. And I saw that agency in the president. And I'm so shocked that after the report has been submitted, since the 27th of July up to now, the white paper is yet to be out. And sometimes I ask myself, what was actually the agency the president wanted to demonstrate when he demanded that report in 10 days?
Right.
And as we all know, it's just a political decision to assuage the pain, reduce the tension, and probably do something that can be lasting. We are waiting for the presidential white paper to come out, government white paper to come out, and let's see whether the white paper can ensure that what the committee intended to achieve, to make recommendations to prevent such happenings in the future. Is it possible to prevent it with this report? Is it possible to prevent it with the recommendations? Is it possible to prevent it with government white paper? We're yet to get there.
So that's Peter Chobo there. He's a former police officer. But again, there are calls for a total overhaul of the military apparatus. I mean, what's your position on this one?
Well, for the military, we cannot overhaul the military. How are we going to overhaul the military? The military, since time immemorial, from the King James Bible to the New Old, and the military has remained the same. And so it will be difficult to, unless we decide to domesticate the military, of which some of us say no. The military, their traditional role is to defend. And when there are emergencies, they come in to perform some functions and they retreat. But what we have done is to begin to have our military perform, the traditional policing role, because we claim we don't have enough police officers and resources. But the military, I am against any attempt to domesticate the military. Let's allow the military to perform their traditional military role. We are surrounded by hostile countries, a sub-region that is in turmoil. So any attempt to domesticate our military wouldn't help us. The police, what I'm aware of, is that at the moment, the form police unit, the form police unit, which is supposed to be who are trained for, rioting and, civilian disturbances here and there. We only have one, which is in Accra. And it was put together for UN purposes. You can just imagine that a country like ours, we only, in the past, have been thinking about how many people we send out there to go and keep peace in other countries. But out of this recommendation, I am aware that the foreign police unit is going to be expanded from 1 to 25. I think I mentioned it on your network somehow.
Yeah.
So I think Accra is going to get 3. Kumasi would get, 3 or so. Tamale about 2. And all the other 15 police, the police has, at the moment, they have 18 regions, including Tema and Kaswa. So all others will have 1. So that they would be equipped with the, rubber bullets, the tear gases, the water cannons, the pepper sprays, and all those things to deal with rioters. Instead of, you have a situation as you are showing on your screen, people demonstrate, picket, and the police is overwhelmed. And what do? They retreat and the military come in. You don't send military officers with rubber bullets. I keep repeating, you don't send military officers with rubber bullets.
Yeah.
If we decide to domesticate them, then we'll be calling for a middle in between the police and the military. Maybe like the U.S. would usually have a standby force who would come in to deal with some of, but I don't think we can do that. So I would say that the recommendations, as we saw, are not bad. Body cameras are part of I think it's one of the last recommendations.
Number 9.
If this is initiated, I know there's a process that they are going to be procuring this for the police. Body cameras and dashboard cameras, like you see in the US and UK and other places. If we're able to do that, I'm telling you, Aisha, this bribery police officer taking 10 CDs, 5 CDs, 2 CDs. I don't know, now that 1 CD and 2 CD notes will be gone, I don't know if when they ask, we'll give them coins. So their pockets likely to create holes. So mine is that let's have a situation where all these, tools are given to them and they are used efficiently, so that in the end, we'll have a police service that can interface very well with the citizens. Because Police officers these are people who must deal with civilians.
Yeah.
You have the SWAT unit who, the anti-terrorism unit who deal with some of these excesses. But so let's have the police perform their traditional role so that the military will be called in when every hope is lost. But when people start throwing stones and you bring in the military and they are holding their rifles,
okay,
they will definitely they will shoot. And if they shoot and people die, and I have heard people say that the military should be punished.
Yeah.
It's not that easy.
Okay.
I must be honest.
Why shouldn't it be easy?
Listen,
the military always get, and
the officers, I'm saying this on the part of security, on the part of legal, even though I'm not a lawyer.
Okay.
You had about 12 officers present that time, all of them carrying rifles. Assuming each of them shot 3 bullets.
Okay.
Can you determine which bullet was a fatal bullet?
Why not?
No, what I'm saying is that you would have,
that can be ascertained.
Let's say you have 36 bullets fired from 10 officers.
And whoever, I know that when they are going, they record.
So what I'm saying is that when 36 bullets, I'm not holding brief for them.
Great.
But I'm looking at the probability of getting the officer who shot and killed the people.
Definitely we must be able to get, because
decide,
you know who, everybody dispatched to the grounds. We know the kind of bullets each of them have, don't we?
So we know.
So you know who was supposed to.
When the bullet goes through you, unless the bullet remains in you.
Okay.
When the bullet fired, penetrated and went out, point of entry out, is gone. You don't find the bullet. So, but if the bullet remained in the person, then chances are that you will know the bullet that killed the person.
Exactly,
So mine is that,
you know who fired that bullet.
So we at the moment don't know. I'm only trying to, some form of education, so that we are measured. Because then if there are 12 military officers, are you going to sack all of them? Because the bullet that killed the people, all of them went through. So let's be measured and say that military officers should not usually be called as soon as citizens begin to throw stones. Let's have the police with all their riot gear.
But even the military men, in the event that they are called, shouldn't they behave appropriately? Because, in the Ijura instance, they definitely didn't behave.
They didn't behave appropriately. My point is that if you look at the chain of command, I'm not holding brief for them.
Yeah.
If you look at the chain of command, regional minister didn't do what was expected.
Exactly.
Police commander, district police commander, the district municipal chief executive. Mine is that the security architecture needs to be looked at, as my colleague Professor Enin alluded to. Until we do that, after 9/11, we have had various countries have changed.
Well,
Today,
definitely a lot of people are worried about implementation in the first place, even though we are not happy with how the recommendations have been done by the other thing is the implementation. And you and I know that a lot of the times these committees bring out their report and it's just gathering dust.
Yeah, so
what's your expectation?
My expectations, as I've had conversations with those who are involved, is that they are going to implement it. The same way, we are talking this way. If they don't, I'm sure we would have a conversation and would have a go at them. We'll let them know they are getting it wrong.
Okay, but
so I believe that they should do that.
Before I let it go, and basically because we talked about how the military has behaved in the last few, in the last period, the Foreign Affairs, ranking member on Foreign Affairs, Okujeto Ablakwa, wrote an article, an open letter to the president, recently, and talked about how there's disquiet among the rank and file of the military regarding the president's travels. And you say he shouldn't have done that?
That is very reckless.
Why?
I don't know Okujeto Ablakwa's age. But those of us who are old enough to have seen 79, do you understand me? When you hear anybody begin to talk this way about our military, what does he know that we don't know?
Okay.
Mine is that you have, this is not, look, the whole of the sub-region is in turmoil. So as a member of parliament, if you think you have information, you know how much information I have? How much information? Maybe if I divulge that information, this country will turn upside down.
Okay.
But I know that if I do, I'll be arrested.
Okay.
So I would call on the CID to get him arrested, to invite him.
For what crime?
For what crime? Disquiet. If you say disquiet, you know 1979, who did the coup?
Okay.
Who did? You know?
Tell me.
Rawlings.
Yes.
Rawlings was part of the Air Force, right?
Okay.
Was it not part of the Air Force? So if you say the Air Force, there's disquiet there. What do you know that we don't know?
So they're planning to...
I don't, please don't quote me. What I'm trying to say is that, you see, let's be guided. He's a member of parliament. And when the first gun is fired, he, Tuobu, and all those people, all the MPs, they are the first people who will be lined up and whipped.
Okay.
I'm sure you saw what is happening in Guinea. Where are the MPs?
So what was he supposed to do?
What you are supposed to do, if as a member of the legislative arm of government, you know you have a defense and interior committee of parliament. You have a speaker of parliament. Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa has access to the president. He would have more access to the president than any of us.
Okay, so he should have gone to the president?
So you would have to, if you have some information that you think is good for this country's security, you don't incite the military officers, the Air Force officers. Mine is that it's disparaging. I am hoping that, actually, if you had said this, I'm sure national security people would have arrested you.
Well,
I'm sure you know.
I don't have that information.
No, I'm only saying, people, you know what this guy said? What was his name? He said something.
Yeah.
What happened to him?
He was arrested.
He was arrested.
Okay.
So mine is that, you see, anytime we have some of these things we want to share, let's be guided, especially when I just see this, I don't know. So please, I'm hoping that the CID, as they will treat all of us, if we say some of these things, because we are talking about this quiet in the military, well, specifically the Air Force. So we need to know what is quiet. They shouldn't, you know, they should bring him and give us the information you have.
Give us more.
If it has to do with presidential...
I think this is something that we would follow up.
Please follow up.
And because definitely if there is turmoil in the sub-regions, I mean, this is something we don't want to welcome.
We don't want to welcome.
But we also have to know what exactly the intention and purpose was in writing that open letter. Thank you so much, Mr. Adam Bona. He's a security analyst and CEO of Security Warehouse. We take a break on the Pulse. We'll be back with sports.
Hello, I'm Dori Nando. You can catch up with all the fun on the Cosmopolitan Mix and on all our shows via podcast. Just go to My Joy Online podcast and search for your favorite show and relive those moments all over again. Only on Joy 99.7 FM, radio for discerning listeners.
Super Hits Radio, Joy 99.7.
Hello there, Hans Mensado here with the sports on the Pulse. Now, Golden Kicks Wizkid Mizat Asante has opened up about his wonder goal in a crucial Division 2 Middle League game against Mobile Phone People FC at the Accra Sports Stadium last Sunday. The 15-year-old attacker came off the bench, took on 4 defenders inside the box and intelligently rounded up the goalkeeper before scoring a goal which has dominated national headlines. My colleague George Addo Jr. has been speaking to Mizat, who is dreaming of a Black Stars call-up and a chance to meet his idol, Paris Saint-Germain's Kylian Mbappé soon.
Still Golden Kicks FC, Abante da Costa, one low pass, Golden Kicks, pressure upon pressure, Mizak Asante, Mizak Bade, Mizak Asante, Mizak Asante, watch your man, Mizak Asante, hey, Golden Kicks, goal! Mizak Asante, Mizak Asante, Mizak Asante, Mizak Asante, Mizak Asante, what a goal! What a goal! What a goal! Mizak Asante! What a goal! Mizak Asante! Wakimaku, no wakimianu, no wakimiansa, no wakipama, no wakinu. Mizak Asante! Tana, when I make a note, a game changer. Some Mizak Asante, but a change. And a super substitute. When I make a note, this is a super substitute.
After we share goal, no, did they about goal no? How are you handling it?
That about goal no there. I am managing. By and manage P. We say I didn't meet my and I'm a young so. And I am one. The Yami into go on the amount for any ajama, dear, but many ajibi. You say you be a bit my say by me into any time for any just I'm miss many aji. Say me
Wow. As I'm not working on me, say, but won't say what many goals say, what a lot of goals are just say, nice. But where I will share, no, the way core internet so no near there, no. I mean, who will say, when your calls near there,
of course, in the many and as to be na time ne dana me say free bench by na be share sa go and na ma go na ko achi bebre no
then pa ne ba wa dwemu a we decide say wo ba chichichichichichiava wudu keeper na ho say san check out e dey na ko adwemu
man say ball no dey o ba say wudu 18 no a o yo hina o no o yo so obi do no count say pa penalty ndi so be hwe say me dana ball no ko me right no ba me left no ta kwa na mdi kan de ball ne tra no o twen no ma me e so mi say o de no ka me pe na me to fo mo a e de penalty be ba e say ne ya de Kenya first penalty ama ya bo ama na say nti second one no mu pese be happy bi mu nti bi am si je bo am de ro mu mfi no say ni patre na mdu ya no o me left side no ono o twen no kakra ma me say me hwe video na hu so twen no by the no so better me second one na the count for now better na so ono no ni say mesa the ball no asa abam right side by me no me gene man fast enti ma anya ma agin say me the ball no be call na me side wura obi ti madam prayer na owo penalty na owo me right side no na meda na se ma fi say that time am twen ba ko na ka me ni keeper no o shout to the keeper na ya na agin say and ye me baby angle na me dane de e be yedin say betimi abobo na shinti and ye on cover that side was say na mani ampie no a wata pa she and am so medwene man fast and am say ade ball no ko bi me ntina ma keeper no e to from say na yes anka keeper bia e be chini by time plan is here no and na ma metimi de ball no say awura ho no din na metimi ko bo share
wow akwa haje na me bisa say player ben na ya wo hwe no player ben na ya wo hwe no ya wo bobo na wo feel say player we na me pese me bobo no say no player ben
oh players in the we should be by them penalty near Kylian Mbappe one of the bia me hwe no si bi o si je ball ko na ni pace ni na ade no one na me penalty ma me hwe no pa
okay nti Kylian Mbappe moves na wo dey start bobo ni musa no na area boys na omo je go no so sen wo ba fi area boys say den
oh go ni there omo kronko there mama go na aswas ne me am she go mama go na e kesi asne
nice kamenya information kakakra say na unya fully fit kwa na che say
fit
na fully fit na otimi she go no say
na starting league no from day one ye dia be duru anoma ye tima verify nyame adum ti na me first match and I'm body and me score here first match and can I penalty ni nyanya and on kwane dem bold league na kan ni ama mobi ye de ba playoff eba middle league ni ana and na be body ba mbo bi nyame adum me hyem wan wonyam wom e be duru mrewe a masa hyem wan wonyam
inti wo she go no wo coach say den ko dey na coach ka chero oto fried rice bi ma wana
on the name we brain no aya mami name me brain no aya me bi say me buy a crumpo no me ko mechi and me friend me ko mechi and me ko hwe kakra am say ba me chi no me buy na mo bu de ba o ma me bi final match me boot na mo na en say no eno a say to bi side e de kan onim de metima ye nti no o ya de bi ma me a wonsuru
good inti uma me ne o papa o ma tse ba na de o bi at news no o ma frɛ o ma me no papa o bi afrɛ na o pa da bi afrɛ
bi afrɛ me
No, mommy friend, I say, how was it? Mommy friend, was it?
Mama, can't do kind of friend. Okay, di kan fam o frame ya no say ono wanya kwan anhwe bo ni bi by videos ni ade de wanya bi by that time of frame no nya hu bo no poye bi anti no o frame ya no bi sam che bo na akosi say am o say ne see e by man kan de ma ya anche no nte na no pa no frame no say no kan say ni see na esi ni age pan yi.
Who started when he? Who started when he na born? I can say, but I say na over bobo. And our family no for bobos are.
Oh, born and casa de if you papa busi. When you happen in or Star Madrid, Division 1.
Okay.
No Star Madrid. Events that set up was in no Star Madrid. Honestly, when born a boss and buy Omunia, center back.
Okay.
And right back, and left back. But I'm one and woman. I'm say me attacking midfielder.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Inti then now we go school kakra, now we go area ball and na ebanese na we do back golden kicks.
Na me go school by na me ball heritage. I work myself. And no na me nua kasa. No ono ankasa na ye team. No na me wo.
Okay.
Na me adu me boy na me senior bi friend match menchi.
Okay.
No interlife.
Yeah, I know. Match minimum.
No,
protocol. Or interlife protocol.
You have no captain or have no bar protocol.
Yeah.
But you say they were too quiet. Me had a new team now to see one.
Yes.
But our African country, yes. When I'm there, dance to man. When the man be people going by me bands, many Jew. Yeah, near doors when you're ban. Yeah, probably 5 years took must buy. A do say breaky I say, now a beam never na the amount. Yes, if you money scan be shall buy. Now, say challenge now no moon to me. By me, the Michelle Moon can say, they are. Yaw me say born and a bonny day. And I say me man cassa, and me is a born and a bonny day. I was make a come. I mean, me man,
yeah.
And I balance with me.
Good point.
Well, really inspiring story there from the young man, Mizat Asante. Hopefully, it's not the last we'll be hearing of him. You can read more sport at myjoyonline.com/sport. I am Hans Mensando.
And that's how we wrap up the polls this afternoon. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching. Let's Talk Showbiz is up next to enjoy the rest of our programs.
What's up, guys? My name is Sammy Forson, host of the Weekend City Show and Ignition right here on Joy 99.7 FM. Well, anytime you happen to be busy and you miss out on your favorite shows right here on Joy FM, here's what you can do. Log on to myjoyonline.com/podcast. Just go on there and you'll find all your shows on demand 24/7. There you can catch up. Remember, Joy FM remains your radio for discerning listeners.
Welcome to Let's Talk Showbiz here on the Joy News channel. My name is Doreen Avio, and today is rather a sad note that, of course, we've been hearing news circulating online that veteran musician Nana Ampadu has passed on. Indeed, we have details to give you here on the show. If you see me or actually feel the way I'm talking, I'm sorry, but he was a great musician and we all loved him. I'll bring you details on that. Also, rapper Chiame Kwame gave a beautiful speech at an event recently, and well, a lot of people have been touched by this speech. And also I have some updates on comedian Waris, who is doing so well for himself. This is Let's Talk Showbiz. Don't go away. If you're just joining me, this is Let's Talk Showbiz, and well, we're starting with veteran musician Nana Ampadu. So this morning we all woke up, you know, usually on WhatsApp and other media platforms, you hear people sending all sorts of messages when we initially heard it, there were reports that it wasn't true. Some said he was in coma. Some said he was in critical condition and at the hospital. So we're all waiting to hear what exactly is going on. But later this afternoon, my team and myself, of course, my team put together a call through to CEO of Gamro, who happens to be Eja Abraham. Yes, Eja Abraham. And he confirmed that indeed the veteran musician Nana Ampadu had passed on. And he went on to give us more details of how Gamro and other people or personalities were supporting him until his demise. And also, he made a revelation of how he had a dream today at dawn about how Nana Ampadu came into his dream and said bye-bye to him. He said a lot of things, and I believe that it's time for us to hear from Eja Abraham himself, confirming the news and also telling us more about what exactly happened.
I understand that, Eja Abraham, you were very close to him and you knew him very well. How has the news hit you?
Well, for me, there is something that I can tell you, and I've not told anybody. And this can be exclusive to you. This morning around midnight, around 12:30 to 1, I had a dream. And in that dream, Nana, I've been very close to Nana. But in that dream, he came to me and said he wanted to bid me farewell and he was leaving. So I checked the timings were around 1:30 a.m. So I didn't sleep again. But when I came to the office, I called my staff and I said, look, throughout my life and relationship with Nana, I've never had a dream with him involved. But today, this was the dream I had. So we all need to pray and to look up to God and see and know what is happening. And it was on that basis that I had a close connect to the member of the family, and I was told he's passed on.
Right, so that was Eja Abraham giving us details on the passing of veteran musician Nana Ampadu, and well, we are all looking forward to get more details as my team is actually at his residence at the moment. Once it comes up, you get more details on our subsequent bulletins on our various platforms. Right, so rapper Ochiame Kwame gave a touching speech at the Global Citizen Live on Climate Clock, and for him, I guess he was the only Ghanaian musician on that platform, and he did a good job. Apart from his name that was mentioned, funny, but it's normal. With other countries, you don't expect them to know our language. So, I mean, Ochiame Kwame, no, it's rapper Ochiame Kwame. So, if you missed out on that, here are excerpts of the speech he gave at the program.
Please make welcome Ghanaian musician and Climate Clock ambassador, Ochiame Kwame.
Greetings from Ghana. Last month, top UN scientists declared cold red for humanity. Climate disruption is not just something that is happening out there in the future. It's happening here and now. We are running out of time to change our course. Every minute, every second counts. This is the climate clock, which people around the world are using to send the message to world leaders that we need to act in time. The clock shows that we have 7 years, it's a deadline, to achieve 100% renewable energy and turn it into a lifeline. This is our best chance to save humanity, the window of hope. All of us across West Africa and the world, we must fight climate justice. We need to build 100% renewable energy for the future to protect the one and only earth that we have. As a climate clock ambassador, I invite you to join me to bring this clock to every nation, every city, every village, so that all of us can have one unified message. We must turn away from fossil fuels, the energy of destruction and death, and towards clean, renewable energy, the energy of nature and life. Thank you very much, Ochiame Kwame. The time is now. Thank you.
Right, so that was rapper Chiame Kwame. Congratulations to him and the team, and we are so proud of him. Now, away from that, comedian Warriors is in the news, and young man is doing what maybe a lot of people will find it difficult to do. Listen, you have to encourage yourself. You need to tell yourself something good, feel good about it, you know. Well, he says that at the moment, he is, should I say, the best comedian in Ghana? Yes, the best comedian. So I beg the comedians, yes, you all did, but comedian Warriors says that he is the one on board now. So, well, let's take a listen to him.
I don't think I'm the biggest. When you check my works that I'm doing, you would know that I can't look down on the work I'm doing. It was during COVID that I shot a TV series, during COVID. So if there was no other comedian like me, or stand-up comedian, or a skit maker, or content creator who was able to put out that thing, I can't look down on myself to say, oh, comedian Warriors, Sika Baby Amasi, Binobia. I can also say I'm the biggest comedian. You understand?
Yeah.
And I've made a lot of moves. I've traveled to actually create a project of which would be in town pretty soon. And aside all the series, I'm about to do my own show pretty soon. So all angles, when you look at it, I'm doing well with skits, I'm doing well with stand-up, I'm doing well with my series, I'm writing a lot of content. Very soon, I think I'll be dropping a movie itself. Well, I think this is even a tip of an iceberg when it comes to my career. I've not even gotten anywhere. But then the fact that I can't look down on myself, that is one thing that I really think I have taken note of. When you quantify everything that I have done so far, I think I've not done enough. But to the world, this is what I've presented to you. And if it would be a challenge for other comics to also start working hard to also, take risk to do other stuffs instead of doing just stand-up, I think it would be a good challenge for the industry as well.
Has it made a lot of money for you, by the way?
Yeah, I'm using iPhone 13. It came last month.
Which is about 8,000 and something. So it means you can boldly say that this job has given you money. You're rich because of comedy.
I'm not rich, but I'm comfortable and I'm peaceful. You understand? If I say I'm rich, it means I'm having a luxurious house and I'm having a car. I don't have a car, but every other thing that every comic or any other artist has to do when he's putting up a show, I have done. I have billboards in town. I have a lot of things that tells you that when you come to Accra and then you are roaming around and you see all those stuff, you know that this is one of the biggest comics in Ghana.
Call them the Music Magic Sisters, and you won't be far from the truth. Tego Sisters is the name of a musical duo consisting of twins Lydia Dedeyos Tego and Elizabeth Kokoi Tego. They have been singing in the gospel music industry since 1983. Lydia Dedeyos Tego and Elizabeth Kokoi Tego, who are twins, were born to the late Hammond Ayikwe Tego and Madame Feriza Edu on 27th July 1965. In 1983, they joined the Open Bible Church International, where they met the male singing group, the Advent Heralds. They backed the Advent Heralds at their public performances. In 1985, they met the late Reverend Francis Akwesiamwako, who became their mentor. Under his guidance, they toured far and wide, both in and out of Ghana, and gained fame. Their first album, Nyame Yekese, which was written by the Advent Heralds, was released in 1987. Orichiche and Stay in My Heart followed in 1988. In March 2021, the group was honored by the organizers of 3 music awards in an event called the 3 Music Women's Branch. Joy Entertainment celebrates the evergreen Tego Sisters.
I saw that said on Celebrate, and you can't just wait. Like, you can't just wait. Me, I can't wait to. Tego Sisters, I love them to bits, and I would love to hear their songs back to back, and I'm sure you'd also love to hear that. So I just keep your fingers crossed. We'll give you updates day in, day out until the day is finally that day, so that we can all listen to their beautiful songs and perhaps have an interaction with them. That'll be it for Let's Talk Showbiz today's edition. A very big thank you to you, Ike and Kuma on production. We are back here on the Joy News channel, same time. Remember to go on Joy Entertainment page, follow us and get more updates on the page. Plus, go on myjoyonline.com for more of our stories. The name is Doreen Avio. On Twitter and Facebook is Doreen Avio. On Instagram is Doreen_Avio. Have a great evening.